And hello, welcome back to another episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. Today we're going through another book. I don't know yet which book it is going to be, but it's going to be an amazing one. Let's have a look at Ned Eliason, or Eliasson, probably. I guess, I would assume. There we go, here we change, here we do this, and here we do that, and everything is amazing, right? Everything is fucking amazing. Today is a beautiful, I don't know. Today is just a day, I would say. Can I do this? Great. Great, it is just insanely amazing. Which category are we gonna go for? All aphorisms, biography, business, college communication, copywriting, decision making, dog training. Maybe let's talk about learning. Pragmatic Thinking and Learning by Andy Hunt. I went through this already. How to Take Smart Notes by Sonke Ahrens. Oh. It is new and it isn't long, so we are probably going to be able to finish it up today. I would assume. Maybe also not. But let's see. How to Take Smart Notes by Sonke Ahrens. Ahrens. This is probably not how you pronounce it, but it is what it is. An excellent intro guide to the Zettelkasten method you can use to take useful notes from everything you read. Strong recommend for improving your note-taking and the usefulness of everything you are reading. Zettelkasten. Zettelkasten is translated by me from German. I think that it is not German. Might be some other Nordic language. Probably Ned Eliasson's mother tongue, whatever that might be. But to kind of translate it once again, Zettelkasten. Zettel means sheet of paper, or just a sheet, and Kasten is actually your wardrobe, which is a Kasten. On the other hand, Zettelkasten probably means like Zettelkästchen, Kästchen being like a tiny wardrobe or a small wardrobe, and which is informal. It's actually formal. So this is indeed the case. Anyway, having those flashcards and a box of flashcards, this is what Zettelkasten probably means, I would assume. Summary notes. There is another reason that note-taking flies mostly under the radar. We don't experience any immediate negative feedback if we do it badly. But without an immediate experience of failure, there is also not much demand for help. Few struggle to text their friends or write emails. The rules of citation can be looked up, and there is no way that there are as many mental issues as paper postponed. Most people struggle for much more mundane reasons, and one is the myth of the blank page itself. They struggle because they believe, as they are made to believe, that writing starts with a blank page. One idea, one note was only as valuable as its context, which was not necessarily the context it was taken from. So he started to think about how one idea could relate and contribute to different contexts. Contexts, yes. What I want to say, just because I've read Blank Page and being, maybe scared to start, just fucking start. Maybe even, spill some coffee on your fucking paper, unless it is just some really important paper, then just don't fucking do that. But write something. You can always change it, unless you're, writing by hand and stuff, do it. Start doing it. As dumb, because it is so easily said as it is, do it. Start doing something, go ahead, move ahead, and I just realized, let's do this. Luhmann had two slip boxes, a bibliographical one, which contains the references and brief notes on the content of the literature, and the main one in which he collected and generated his ideas mainly in response to what he read. It, in general, is a good idea to categorize things. You know, having one thing for this and one thing for that. Probably not mixing things up, unless this is what you like to do. Having one sheet of paper or having one piece of paper where you're basically having everything written down that you want to know, needs to know, and whatever. It's a good idea. It really depends on what is working best for you, but to figure that out, one probably needs to try different things, and also just try them for an expanded period of time. I mean, of course, when I'm trying something out for a day, this might not be enough of a sample piece, no, sample period, to actually make sure, to actually decide whether it is a good method or it isn't. If a new node was relevant or directly referred to an already existing node, such as a comment, correction, or addition, he added it directly behind the previous node. Make fleeting notes. Always have something at hand to write with to capture every idea that pops into your mind. Don't worry too much about how you write it down or what you write it down, or what you write it on. These are fleeting notes, mere reminders of what is in your head. They should not cause any distraction. Put them into one place, which you define as your inbox, and process them later. Now I get it. Most often, do I actually have a Zettelkasten? I think that I've once had one, but most often, and I can quickly Google, what if I actually Google Zettelkasten? Let's see what is coming up there. Maybe kind of the real deal. Oder Katalogkasten, veraltet teilweise auch. Cartodex ist ein Hilfsmittel bei der Stelle. Okay. There we go. There is actually... This is an English word. Why the fuck is there no fucking real translation of that? On the very bottom you can read. The Zettelkasten is a system of note-taking and personal knowledge management used in research and study. Variations of the note-taking system are known by the card index or index card file in English and fichier boy or something in French contexts. Let's see. Zettelkästner, plural. This is not necessarily what I was looking for, but you're having different categories. Why the fuck? The first one probably being the inbox. Well, the cam is in the way now. Let's do it like this. The first one is probably the inbox, where you're having everything that is on your mind, where you're having everything that might not necessarily be important. Then, by finishing your inbox, probably by finishing the literature, you can then decide whether you take this note and put it into the next folder. And then decide once again. Probably also when you're having multiple cards that represents the same idea. You can throw some out. You can kind of stick them together back to back or something and put them in the next category, the next chapter, whatever you want to call it, and then just move from there. Probably having kind of 3, 4 maybe of these sections per box, I'd say, and just to make sure that you actually only keep what is really necessary. And then when you're doing that, you probably have some really neat notes and just only the important ones. Make literature notes. Whenever you read something, make notes about the content. Write down what you don't want to forget or think you might use in your own thinking or writing. Keep it very short, be extremely selective and use your own words. Be extra selective with quotes. Don't copy them to skip the step of really understanding what they mean. Yes. This is also one of the reasons why I do in general like note-taking. Also when it is some lesson or some lecture in university that may not necessarily seem too important. In the real end, you have to be able to learn it anyway because there is probably going to be an exam on one hand, and also on the other hand, you need to fucking understand that. So writing things down, first of all, at least this is for me the case, whether it is by hand or just on a computer or whatnot, I do remember things a bit better by writing them down, by actually having to think them through 2 times. First of all, I'm reading it on the projector or on the whiteboard or on some other board or wherever I'm reading it. Then I have to process it, and I also have to write it down because, well, I'm just, having to go through it multiple times. Reading it, writing it, thinking about what I'm writing, thinking about what I'm reading, and so on and so forth, makes sense for me. For me. Some people don't like that. I do like having also relatively big sheets of paper and writing things down there, and so on and so forth. Not necessarily then to go through them again, but just to then have it in my system. Quite. In the old system, the question is, under which topic do I store this note? In the new system, the question is, in which context will I want to stumble on it again? Lumen never underlined sentences in a text he read or wrote comments in the margins. All he did was take brief notes about the ideas that caught his attention in a text on a separate piece of paper. I make a note with the bibliographical details, which probably means I would assume the page where it is exactly, maybe if there's some line numbers or something, maybe also there. You may remember from school the difference between an exergonic and an endergonic reaction. Well, yeah, I guess so. In the first case, you constantly need to add energy to keep the process going. In the second case, the reaction, once triggered, continues by itself and even releases energy. The mere copying of quotes almost always changes their meaning by stripping them out of context, even though the words aren't changed. This is a common beginner mistake, which can only lead to a patchwork of ideas, but never a coherent thought. I always have a slip of paper, at hand, on which I note down the ideas of certain pages. On the backside, I write down the bibliographical details. After finishing the book, I go through my notes and think how these notes might be relevant for already written notes in the slip box. It means that I always read with an eye towards possible connections in the slip box. Handwriting makes pure copywriting impossible, but instead facilitates the translation of what is said or written into one's own words. Depends. Really have to say depends. The students who typed into their laptops were much quicker, which enabled them to copy the lecture more closely, but circumvented actual understanding. They confused on completeness. Verbatim notes can be taken with almost no thinking, as if the words are taking a shortcut from the ear to the hands, bypassing the brain. Yes. Some people say it is all about like emotion that you're having. I'm also having emotion when I'm typing things. I would for sure say try out both and see what is better for you. And also, there are some teachers that are saying like, okay, you have to take notes by hand. I'm not allowing any computers or whatnot. Well, the problem that I'm having with note taking by hand is that I'm fucking losing things. When I write things by hand, I'll for sure lose it. Of course, I can say I'm just making a photo every single time. Probably also going to lose that photo because I just cannot search for pictures on my phone. Yes, of course, you can set up a system so that things are for sure always on your computer using some cloud storage thing or whatnot. But what about just writing it on your computer? Maybe, by the way, also just having an iPad and an Apple Pen to just write things down might also be an option. Rereading is especially dangerous because of the mere exposure effect. The moment we become familiar with something, we start believing we also understand it. On top of that, we also tend to like it more. The way people choose their keywords shows clearly if they think like an archivist or a writer. Do they wonder where to store a note or how to retrieve it? The archivist asks, which keyword is the most fitting? A writer asks, in which circumstances will I want to stumble upon this note, even if I forget about it? It is a crucial difference. Good keywords are usually not already mentioned as words in the note. It's probably something that you are thinking about while reading it, At least this is how I most often deal with things. And I also like to write down things or type down things that I find funny. You know, whether it is a funny word the professor used or whatnot. Because I think, I don't really know if this is the case, that I will remember that. And because I will remember that, I'm probably also going to remember like the whole point. To some degree it did work in the past, so I'm just, you know, I'll keep doing so. Why is there always a bee flying against my window? She's clearly trying to find something. Anyway, a good rule of thumb for working with the program is each node should fit onto the screen and there should be no need of scrolling. So I'm gonna buy myself a really big screen. Or gonna change the settings so that I'm having a really big screen. In terms of resolution and whatnot, but yeah. Anyway, I do really hope that I've been able to share something of value to you, and I'm hopefully gonna see you the next time, so bye bye.